All right. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:31. It is November 27th. My name is Scott Ruther. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's 6:30 Club. We got a new week. Typically, the first few days of this week's a little softer because the forces of will love for Thanksgiving to be on the stronger side. And after 3 strong weeks prior, so that's 4 strong weeks in a row, you'd think we could relax, rebuild, and get ready for next week's data, which is pretty important. So I actually come in really, really light this week. Hope everyone had a great weekend, a great holiday week. I know there was a lot of really good football out there. A lot of great college games, NFL, and hopefully you had some fun with your friends and family, and did the important things. So now we try and situate with 23 days left of this year. That's all there is. 23 days, trading days left. How do you end your year on the right note? How do you try and work your way back to your high watermark? Or how do you put yourself in a position situated for next year? What you got to do is, first of all, get yourself in your process and your routine. So this way, day in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, you're in a position where, you can keep yourself organized. You can keep yourself thinking clearly so you can execute with confidence when the market tells you what to do. Because, this is when you start getting the noise, the chatter about everyone's predictions for next year, right? Reggio, what's your prediction? What's your prediction? Pain. No, I'm kidding. That was Clubber Lang from Rocky 3. But, everyone's going to talk about, if you remember 1 year ago at this time, every single person out there was talking about the craziest recession we would ever see in the first half of 2023 that never happened. So now everyone's tune's a little different. Now they're talking about a slight recession. Some are talking about the soft landing. Some are talking about how, boom, where we made it through. Now all of a sudden, blue skies ahead. For me, I don't really know. I'm not smart enough to know, right? I'm 51 years old. I have one kid. He's a freshman in high school. I've seen lots of different markets. All I know is this year was kind of a tricky one. The macro was really hard because you had, everyone out there talking about the biggest recession out there, how markets have to retest the year prior's low, and then we took off fast, so it took a little while to trust that. And by the time you trusted that, it was a summertime pullback that everyone was now talking about rallying. So whatever which way it was, to me, there was lots of things to do this year, but this was not an easy trading year. That's why I talk about so many time frames. That if you're not having your best trading year, at least you're building in your 401k over time, putting monthly flows in, or your son's 529, or a 403b, or maybe you have a blood in the street account like I do, where you put it to work. I only put it to work 2.5 times this year. So this way, something's always winning, right? You want to be winning somewhere. So you can always celebrate the small wins. And then when everything's clicking together, that's when you're like, all right, hard work is paying off. But again, for this week, if you look here, you look at the size of this move, from 41.03 October 27th all the way up to 45.68, which is a pebble throw away, from the summer highs. Tech already went through the summer highs, so that looks like it also needs a bit of a breather. While in the last 2 weeks, the small caps have been a really good place to focus on. We made a lot of money buying options in the IWM, and I still think there's going to be opportunity there, but this week it might be one of those accumulation weeks to set up for the CPI next week, for the jobs report next week. So if I were to take out my crystal ball, I would say, hey, don't overtrade the next few days. Let things digest, maybe with a little bit of downside slant. Midweekish, start accumulating for the following Friday some options besides trading, and then maybe that's how you get paid. But for the next few days, don't come out like a banshee, because I feel like it's going to be pretty choppy. We kind of lost a few leaders. Some leaders got tired. Some things are kind of in no man's land. So I come in today really not that excited. So once again, you can't get too bearish if 45.45 holds, but then here is your 8-day. So you could still test the 8-day and be really strong. The 8-day is closer to 45.17. We'll see. If you trade the SPYs, maybe we just have another few inside days to create a bull flag to continue. Remember this bull flag that we had, the week prior, that gave us a nice move to, to the highs. So maybe it happens again. Where, hold on, let me just put this in here. where all of a sudden we go sideways here, very quiet, and then all of a sudden take out 456.38 to kiss or revisit the July highs. Or they shake the tree a little bit. We break 453.89 to see the 8-day. So it's hard to tell. All I know is, I'm not long the SPYs. I sold some premium heading into this week. Maybe today there's a little red to green type trade, but we already came a little bit off lows. Right now we're at 454.79, which is, which is right inside this prior 2 days. So again, don't be in a rush. The Qs kind of seem like they had their little stretch on Wednesday, and then came in a little bit. Feels like the prior high, should hold-ish. Here's your 8-day. It wouldn't be the worst thing if we all of a sudden go a little sideways for a few sessions here either. Let the 8-day catch up, build some patterns. Sometimes you're in pattern building mode, sometimes you're in get up and go mode, and sometimes you're in a little retracement mode. So the Qs look as if they could use another few days. The IWM had a really nice move. IWM looked a little bit more set up coming into this week. Last week or two was really good trading here. This is when I remember down here we played the IWM for a quick move, and then was long the options into the CPI. And now, what I would think is a little digestion above the 8-day. Sometimes the IWM gets a little crazy and pulls back more than you would think, but at this point right now, the IWM is down 68 cents. So what I think you could do here is accumulate maybe. So it went as high as 181.76. So if we're going to see a little bit more upside into the end of the year or the beginning of January, here's your pivot and here's your next spot. So every now and then I try and create a call spread, right? Here I did the 171s, and then into here I sold the 176s, and then here, after this pullback I bought the 175s, and I sold the 179s. So you always could strategically pick where you want to buy them, and then where it'll be hard to get through, and that's how you create your call spread. So for now, maybe not for this Friday, but for next Friday, okay, which is next Friday is the 8th. Slowly buy like the 181 IWM calls, and then if you have a move in the IWMs, then you maybe sell the premium above. If you want to stay in the money, you can do that too. Maybe you want to buy the 179s, and then if it trades through 179.65 this week, then you sell the 181.76s. But I would do it very slowly. I can't see like a gangbusters few days here. I don't even know what they would go after, to be honest, but we'll see. Some think the XLE, could play a little catch up, which, XLE is still choppy. Everyone thought it was going to break out above this two-year range, and it failed, and now seems to have found some support in here. So maybe there's a push. But again, it's broken. It's a range trade. I don't even know if it's worth your time. If you go to my go-to list, it feels like some things need to rebuild. Like we played Meta so well. Guys played Amazon really well, Netflix really well. Even Apple, even though it didn't lead. Tesla, they've given you small trades, but still is in no man. So if you take a quick look through here, Apple gave us a really good trade when it broke above this 177. I have nothing on with Apple. So now I would say, hey, you want some clues in tech? Does Apple hold 189.25? If Apple doesn't hold 189.25, this prior spot, and breaks the 8-day, there's a lot of room here below, which would mean we get a little bit of downside. The oscillator went out plus 55, so we're still overbought. And now there's a little talk out there, just a little talk about this new operating system that kids can get together and the contacts go from one to the other, and a lot of parents are pissed off about it. I just started to listen or read about it a little bit. So I don't know if that's going to mean the stock's going to go down, but bottom line is it's down 55 cents. I was thinking that I would like to buy a little bit to re-engage here. I had a lot into this, and then you had a red dog reversal sell here after a big move. So either we hold here and then build an upper level flag, which means we're not pulling in much, or this breaks and then we see what happens and there's a little bit more room. But these are one of the few days that I'm not in Meta either. Meta was awesome. So many nice trades in Meta. To me, it just felt a little elevated. And I just, again, I felt like the next few days might be a little bit choppy to the downside. So I'm not in Meta. Maybe you could buy red to green. I tried it a little bit on Friday and just wasn't strong. So here is what? 366.70-ish. So if this fails to hold, hey, maybe you get a test back down towards 330.50 or not. So I would say, hey, how elevated do we stay? We don't know if it holds that spot. Like right now, Meta there's also some news out there. I listened to 1010 Wins on the way in, and they're talking about how there's some predatory practices by Instagram and Facebook that they're advertising to young kids. Every company advertises. That's what they do. You advertise to everybody to sell products, so they're not allowed. I'm not judging, whatever. All I'm saying is the little piece of negative news out there. I've heard this before. There's like a class action suit from 32 states. So 336.69 is right there. So right now it's right there. It's right at that spot. So if it breaks this spot and stays below it, which it might, that'll give you some clues that, again, this go-to list of awesome stocks that give us so many nice trades. This is when I got really heavy in Meta with you guys on the Alpha team, as well as 630 Club. So it's either going to hold this and go green and stay that elevated, or it breaks it, and then we see a little bit of a retracement. So I think Meta and Apple are going to give us, some clues. Amazon, hanging in here. This is a nice looking setup. Amazon never really broke above this area. It's above the 8-day. We were playing Amazon here, somewhere in from the pro earnings gap. If we were to get above this 147.75, maybe there's a follow-up trade there. Some news from Black Friday should be coming out, whatnot. So yeah, that's a nice setup. And then you have NVIDIA, which led most risk, got sold post earnings. It was down on what was it on Friday, talking about how they're delaying the chip. So I think today's gonna be an interesting day for NVIDIA. Why? Because does NVIDIA reclaim 476.90 and just hold the upper end of this retracement, or does it really start to just dribble all the way back into maybe the 50-day, which would probably bring in some sellers in other tech. So far, it's been pretty isolated to NVIDIA, but we'll see. At this point, it's down $1.60. Okay, so right now it's right around this 476. So I will look at it. Even with the weakness on Friday, it went from red to green and gave us a little bit of a trade. But anyway, so does NVIDIA hold 476-ish? Maybe it goes to 470, sees the 21-day, and then goes green, and then you have a low for the week to trade against. Or, again, it's kind of bending, and it needs to do more market discovery. For me, again, I don't know. All I know is I had a call spread on that didn't work. I salvaged it, and it is what it is. They had a great report. They tripled everything. But again, sometimes from this 400 area to 505, it wasn't enough, especially when you talk about how sales in China are going to not be where they're supposed to be for a quarter. So it gives people an excuse. So as us for traders, what question is what's going to happen? Are we going to hold 470 and reclaim 476 and go green and then have a level to trade against this week? Or is it going to dribble lower and just be kind of for sale, and then we see where it goes? So I think between Apple, Meta, and NVIDIA, it'll tell you what type of few days we might have to start this week. If each one of those go green, all right, then chances are not much of a pullback. Anyway, Tesla's still a pain in the butt, lagging, really, really choppy. There's been some money to be made, so it is what it is. Whether the rhetoric from Musk or, which I'm not going to get into. Bottom line is, I remember this day was, looked great, gave us a nice red to green trade, and then all of a sudden was for sale on the Wednesday of Thanksgiving. And then I remember on Friday, I'm like, what, chances are the way the stock trades, it's going to go from red to green, and that's what it did. And now it's still just hovering here within this little mini range. It's up a whole nickel today. So at this point, we'll see how it goes. I would give it some space. It's not very compelling. It's not leading. At this point, who knows? Like the halo has been, kind of tarnished on Tesla, in my humble opinion. But again, if you just a trade's a trade, a chart's a chart. This was a nice little inverted head and shoulders pattern, great buy pattern right here. Went right into prior resistance, got sold, came back in, red dog reversal, little move, and now it's hard to tell. We'll see what happens today. I'm not going to overtrade. I'm not going to overtrade anything today. Red Dog is going to sit back and see how it goes. It's been a very active 3-4 weeks, and a lot of guys made some money back, got back to the high water mark. I know a lot of people, switched some gears and got, and this was a tricky spot a month ago. Just so many things were predatory and broken, nothing great. And PS, we've had some really good trading for almost 4 weeks, and now, the next few days could be just, hey, don't overdo it. Let's see how it shakes out a little bit, and let the trade come to us instead of you going after it. No reason to go after it the Monday after Thanksgiving. But we'll see. So what's this high here for Tesla? This is 238.75. Might as well put that in there. 238.75. I know crypto has been really good while the market, got a little choppy on Wednesday, Thursday. But Bitcoin did not take out 38,000 and hold above it this weekend. Some people were playing for that. If you were playing for that, well, it's on pause. Still not failing, but it just couldn't get above and stay above. So you'll probably see a little bit of profit taking, like coin and some of those. Yeah, it's some nice trades though in those too. So this is a little bit of a tried to push through, couldn't hold it, so it came back in. Here is this is like 30. What is this? It's like 37ish. If it were to build an upper, just say it wants to build this upper quadrant, it could attempt to do it again. Maybe it wants to do it for Christmas. It didn't want to do it for Thanksgiving. But if it were to break this, then then you see if it needs to probe into the into this ascending channel here, which has been building and holding. So all in all, just like everything else, what's your time frame here? I've spoken so many times how I think Bitcoin, just like gold, could be part of your asset allocation, and you could trade it. You could trade gold too. The GLD hanging in here right ahead of this 186. Overall, GLD looks really good. You had this fast move, corrected. It's been holding back above the 8 and 21 day. What's GLD doing today? GLD is up $1, so gave you some clues that, hey, maybe GLD could, be great actively, which at this point now it's got to get above this 186.36. So it kind of is. And then I showed you guys the monthly chart, which a lot of people are talking about. Look at this cup and handle on the monthly. Wow. So if you're an asset allocator, you don't trade that, that actively. And I would say, hey, if you have 10% in gold every year, maybe next year 15 to 20%, especially if the GLD is going to take out this 194. Chances are, higher prices. What does that mean for the economy next year? I'm not going to start talking about that. It's not the time and place. But overall, technically, GLD looks pretty friggin' set up. But so does the SPYs for next year. Look at this. This is your monthly in the SPYs. Look at how, remember the the decade of pain. But meanwhile, we took this out in 2012. Nice consolidation. Here was the pandemic, hit your high, came back, symmetrical test, got above this area. Look at the size of this monthly candle. So kind of looks like we have another wedge building here on the, I haven't looked at this monthly in a while. I don't know, I even remember when I drew this stuff. But this looks pretty good too, where I could see this and, or I could hit the top of the channel. But bottom line is the SPY looks good too. Maybe they all go up. So go more to the weekly chart is what I've been doing. And, you had this also cup and handle where it just created this handle and broke out a little bit, and now it needs to kind of hang out here. And so a lot of things technically look pretty good, even with everybody calling for a slight recession next year. Anyway, for today, it's a different story. Let's go back here one more time. I'll mark all those up another time. Oh, this came in on this chart now because I did that. Okay. Just sloppily. I like to be a little bit more methodical and, precise versus sloppy. But anyway, here's where the SPYs are. Here's the high, here's the low, and the SPYs right now are down 60 cents. So we'll see, do we digest higher and create a high level flag, or do they shake the tree a little bit, to retrace to the 8-day moving average, which wouldn't be the end of the world either. All right, guys. Again, I'm coming in pretty light. I don't really think there's so much to do. Maybe knick-knack a little bit, make a little bit of money. I think later in the week, maybe we could position with some options for next week's data. Next week you have, you know, the CPI, the jobs report, stuff like that. We could definitely work off some of this overbought condition. The Mossad went out plus 55, which is pretty up there. I have my race this week coming up. I'm going to Tampa Thursday, Friday. So it wouldn't be bad if I could accumulate some things into Tuesday, Wednesday. Remember 3 weeks ago, my guys, I'm like, the way you build mental toughness is keeping promises to yourself. I said, I'm not going to have any beer, any bread, and any French fries for 2 weeks. Why not get out? Because Thanksgiving, you know, you have some wine, which I did. No beer for 3 weeks, 2 weeks already. I'm down to 184. I want to get down to 181 by Thursday for race weight. Now there's no alcohol this week. I'm going to fast today, just do some green drinks. Tomorrow, you know, start building in on small carbs. Get ready for race day because, you know, this is what you do. You got to prepare so you can succeed. You know, when I used to do the marathons and the Ironman, that was much different preparation. Now, doing a trail race in Florida, which should be fun with 8 guys. This is what we do once a year, which kind of keeps us, you know, in line, right? You got to stay in line somehow. For me, I have a race, so this way it keeps me training, keeps me thinking about not getting over that hill because I want to make sure my times are not that bad. And, you know, 3 weeks ago, I'm like, what do I have to do to get myself in somewhat of a race shape so I feel good about myself? And that's I better stop drinking as much. How do I do that? No beer. And, you know, a few things, bring down the weight, you know, little things. Little games you play with yourself. If you set some goals for yourself that you can't keep, you know you don't have as much self-control and discipline as you're supposed to have. You know, what weakens your mentality is when you say you want to do something you don't do, and the only person who knows is yourself. That's why I like to put it out in the world a little bit so people are like, hey, Red Dog, you know, did you keep to your plan? I'm like, yeah. You know, woke up today, went in the sauna, did my ice barrel. This finger is still starting to, you know, come back to feeling my big toe also. It's getting cold out there. You know, I would think within the next week or so, the top level of the ice barrel is going to have to be hammered and chiseled, which really, you know, sets the tone for the day. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. I'll be here Monday through Wednesday, and then Thursday I will be in Tampa, and then Friday I will be racing 24 hours. We'll see how things shake out between now and then. Thanks for tuning in. And again, start thinking about, you know, the evolution of yourself. It's not the new you in a new year. It's just a little bit of a improved version. We could all improve. Figure out how you can. Later, guys.